motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Any seconded? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Consent agenda, claims committee.
Motion to approve the consent agenda. All claims appear to be in order.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Seems like we don't need any signatures. We have a voice vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed. All right. Visitors, public comments. Items not on the agenda. Anyone like to address us for anything that is not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on. Okay, we've got a public hearing this evening, the first of two, I believe. We will be having a public hearing concerning expenditures from House Bill 355 projects, and we'll go to the manager.
Mayor and council, as we discussed previously, the House Bill 355 required the city to prepare a priority list and to solicit and accept potential projects under the SLIPA Act, or the State Local Infrastructure Partnership Act, that was specifically to help cities fund maintenance and repair, with an emphasis, priority projects were water and wastewater. So as we noted at that November 20th meeting, the department heads were consulted for maintenance and repair projects that met the criteria of House Bill 355. And we brought forward that list. The city council reviewed that list during that meeting, November 20th, and asked the city staff to come back with, give us your priority, put these in order. So the eligible projects include drinking water systems, wastewater treatment systems, fire suppression if independent of a drinking water system, streets, roads, bridges, landfills, streetlights, airports, public grounds, and buildings. This is straight out of the statute. So priority had to be given to those that maintain or repair your drinking water system, publicly owned wastewater, and municipal fire suppression systems. So we prepared the list for this hearing in accordance with the request by council in order. So I've specified as well where the local matching funds would come from. So the House Bill 355 requires a 25% cash match, nothing in kind. So our statutory appropriation is $359,193, with the local cash match to be $119,731. So our projects would be $478,924. Now, and there's lots of caveats in here, right? They have to be completed or under contract with some special circumstances in order to go beyond December. So the fact that they waited until November 6th to say, oh, by the way, here's your rules of engagement. So in order of priority, mayor and council, wastewater treatment, sewer distribution, we have projects holding $380,000. Of that, $285,000 would be the House Bill money. Local cash match would be $95,000. And we have in our trial balance, we have restricted funds for repair, maintenance, and expansion within our operating fund, and I've cited that in here. So we have the sewer main repair, sewer main number 135 between 2nd Street West and 3rd Street West. The electrical distribution switch gear that needs to be replaced. Has it been about 18 months ago now when the power went out, but the generator didn't start immediately, and it turned out to be the switch gear. We did a repair at that time, and the electrician said that this isn't long term, right? And that came from the original plant in the 80s. Like, this was how it was wired. So that's $50,000. Then our steel, the grit bin in our pre-treatment is rusting, and it's $190,000 to replace. Now, The steel brick bin we'll have to call for bids. It's over 80,000, but it doesn't have to be engineered. We're taking this steel brick bin and we're replacing it with a new one. And then the 1983 scum pump and controls that are in the basement of the clarifier. So the controls are so old, they're manually operated. They don't talk to our SCADA system. So that's 100,000. And then the Meadow Lake flow meter needs to be replaced, and that's 25,000. We believe, based on the readings, it's not reading accurately, and it's also from the 80s. So the priority projects are wastewater treatment, sewer distribution. Then in water, we have a $60,000 project to replace 6 hydrants with valves. That when our paid firefighters went out and exercised all 400 and some fire hydrants, these were the 6 that needed to be replaced. And so they're about, with labor, materials, and hydrants, about $10,000 each. So that money would come from $45,000 of House Bill 355. Local cash match would come out of our water fund operating cash for $15,000. Our last project would be the repair of the Veterans Drive bike path from 9th Street or the highway to 11th Street. And the quote is about $50,000. Now you're going to see on here that we don't quite have 75% of the funds left. Like we only have $29,193 of House Bill money left. So the local match would be $20,807. That would either come out of a general fund cash budget amendment, or in your resort tax, you have other infrastructure cash budget allocation. So these were the priority projects. We took off the dam and we put wastewater first. I think on your original list you saw water. So these are the projects that we are bringing forward for proposed priority project funding. And we're requesting that council consider and accept the proposed projects to be submitted to the Montana Department of Commerce for House Bill 355 funding application.
Okay, council, do you have any questions for the manager concerning this? We talked about it last meeting, so it was pretty good. So at this time, we'll open the public hearing concerning this issue. Anyone wishing to speak to the council concerning House Bill 355, please do so now. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Okay, now I need a motion.
I make a motion that we adopt HB 355 priority list. And solicit and accept potential projects.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Have a roll call on this, please.
Councilor Shepherd?
Aye.
Councilor Fisher?
Aye.
Councilor King?
Aye.
Councilor Levering? Aye. Councilor Piper?
Aye.
Councilor Robinson?
Aye.
Mayor Barnhart?
Aye. All right, next is another public hearing concerning Title V business license amendments. We'll look for a manager again for an explanation.
Thank you. I need to get to the right page here. So the 2023 legislature changed our ability, changed our ability for business licensing, for our business license program. So now we need to amend it because our program very much promotes public health, safety, and welfare. So in order to operate our program under the new statutory provisions, we are bringing forward an ordinance for your review. We have the first reading, so I'm going to go to page 38 in your packet. So this language, so the legislature didn't play at all with the liquor license provisions, but under business license, they changed all of the wording and prohibited us from issuing a business license to other types of businesses, specifically targeting the registration that we did, how we track our short-term vacation rentals. And we've had this discussion before that it's not, because it's not a commercial endeavor, but a residential, but we used our business license provisions in order to track it within the city. Well, they took exception to the senator that carried the bill took exception to the Whitefish provisions that it's $400 for an annual license. Ours is $40. Theirs, they had risen that as well from $40 to $400 for each of their businesses. So, but we really do want to track business registrations. And one of the things that we do when a business registers with the city is they fill out an emergency notification form, like for after hours. And it goes to the police department, and now with our modern system, not just 3-ring binders, but in the modern system, dispatch it's in there, right? So if I have, well here, City Hall, who's the after hours contact? Oh, well, we call Susan, right? Or we call whoever, we call her. So it's in that system. So if there's a smoke alarm going off in a building and the fire department standing there going, hey, they can call dispatch and get that. We didn't want to lose all of that. So they had really cherry picked who we could issue a license to and who not. And so then when we started going down the list and talking to the other cities, it was like, well, we still need this information. We want people to register. And then when there's a change of occupancy or change of use, fire may or may not have to go in and inspect it, right? If it was a house and it became a restaurant, it requires an inspection. So we're bringing forward at tonight's hearing to change our Title V business license regulations to a business registration so that we can comply with state statute, but still maintain the public health, safety, and welfare by having our businesses register so we know where they are, what they do, and how do we contact people, which has been invaluable over the time. So we are requesting, council, that you amend Chapter 501 business licenses to business registration, and then we would have two different, there's after the amendment, we would have two different kinds of registrations, just general business, that's everybody but a contractor. It would include all businesses, entities, and professions requiring a registration other than those registered as a contractor. Because the Building Code Bureau still requires us to check master plumbers, master electrician, and contractor. If you're going to build a commercial building and you come in and build a permit, we have to look at your state license. Well, that license, our previous license allowed us to have that already on file because the contractors, excavation bonds, they would already provide it to us. They would attach a copy with ours. So it was not an onerous process with the building permit. We weren't calling and having them call their office and faxing things over or scanning an email. So we want to register general business and then contractors. And as defined, a contractor is a person or business that builds, repairs, installs materials or devices on new or existing commercial or residential properties in the city. Keeping it pretty simple. You're either a general business, general, or you're a contractor. So in our first reading, it shows what it currently says and then after. So we just say that no contractor or general business will conduct, operate, transact, or engage in business of any kind within the city before first registering. And failure to register constitutes a violation of the chapter. License fees, the $40 that we currently charge is by resolution. And at this time, we're not recommending that we change that. we did look at with our sister cities across the state, we did them quarter, like we did an annual license, but if you were operating for 3/4 and you came in, half the year, then you paid half the license, or you could also opt to just register for the 1/4, like if you did the summer market. We looked at that. Ours was more cumbersome than others. They had it either you paid, if it was after July 1, you paid $20. If it was before, during the year, you paid, because the registrations were on the calendar year. So if it was anywhere between January and June, you just paid for an annual license, and then you had, after July 1, you paid for half the year. That seemed a lot. We have all these different codes of which quarter is it and which, it is fairly complicated, in the system. So just cleaning that up, and then applications for registrations will be obtained from and filed with the city. Their fees, the form will be determined by the city manager. We do want to update our emergency contact form, and just like here, this is who they are, where they're located, and who do they contact after hours. And those are not public documents. So, and a contractor would still provide their current Montana certificate of contractor registration and a copy of their bond certificate if applicable. And excavation contractors are required to carry a bond. So when they kind of played with this and said, oh, you guys, you need to still look at it, but you can't issue a license. It definitely convoluted because how do we track? So by utilizing a business registration, we're still able to obtain the information that we need and simplify it a little bit, but we don't have a whole bunch of categories.
Okay.
So,
Questions, comments, council? I have one. What was the driving force behind this? Why did they come up with this? It seemed like it worked pretty well.
and had for decades. Well, so the senator that carried the bill was out of Billings, but they cited the whitefish fees. So, and the whitefish fees went from 40 to 400. With a large part, the description about hiring a code enforcement official, well, that's what the $400 goes toward.
Well, that's unfortunate.
So,
They make laws like that. Well, if we have no further ones, I'll open it up.
One quick, page 38, that's spelling errors driving me nuts. It says section 1 amendment, business licenses generally.
Oh, yeah.
Is that how it's spelled?
It's currently,
Brad.
currently, that is how it's spelled in the code book, which
Really?
we caught.
That's driving me nuts.
Well, it drove me nuts too. So you'll see though the amendment after strikes licenses generally, it will just say business registration. So that is current code, and it wouldn't let me override the current code that fits it. I did laugh out loud, and I said, how on earth did the programs like this go? So, because in 2019, when the council was reviewing all of your code, and we went through it and updated it, it was ordinance 790, and we ran them all through spelling trackers, and it gets loaded in. All of these were, and I didn't look at the original ordinance, that all of these codes in 2019 were loaded in by Unicode. So I didn't look at our original, but that's when we went to the auto code, right? That, like, this will come through and it'll get updated. So if Unicode entered it, that I don't know, because I'm like, what the heck is this? But yeah, so in 2019, when you guys went through title by title,
So
Yeah, it's school.
this time we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to comment, please come forward. Seeing none. Public hearing, I have a question at this time. Is this considered a first reading?
When you, yes, under ordinances, when you get down there, you'll read your first reading.
All right, moving on. Next is a notice of public hearing. That'll be a zone change within Columbia Falls jurisdiction, and that'll be the planning board December 12th. And we will look at it the 2nd of January. Request to change from CR3 one family residential to CD2, Columbia Falls jurisdiction, and this would be the piece of property that the Boys and Girls Club has purchased from the Catholic Church on Veterans Drive. It would be moved into a general business designation. All right, new business. Award bid sidewalk parking improvements. Knife River, we'll go to the manager one more time.
Okay, Mayor and council, you have the report from C.R. Lessinger with our engineering firm Morrison Merrily, and CRA is present this evening. And you can see we were quite pleased to have a bid come in kind of in line with the engineer's estimate. So we are recommending that council award the bid to the low bidder for $723,000.
Right, well, it's refreshing to have a bid actually come in less than what we were presented. Keep it up, will you? Just let that go line. All right, council, you have any questions, or can we move to a motion?
I'm good with this.
Motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to award the bid sidewalk and parking improvement project to Knife River for $723,000. Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. It's good to see we're moving forward. Next, Columbia Falls appointment, Flathead Emergency Communications Center Operations Board. And it looks like our chief has asked to be reappointed. Is that correct?
That is correct. And the commissioners asked specifically that the council also designate, so.
All right. May I have any questions before we move to vote to affirm this? Confirm this?
I make a motion to approve the Operations Center Board representative of the city to the chief.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So done. Thank you, chief. Appreciate it. Next. First reading ordinance 27 concerning what we just had a public hearing on changing the business license regulations. So if we have no further questions concerning this, may I have a motion for first reading, please?
Make a motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance 827 with the amended title by business license regulations.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
First reading, ordinance 827 is approved. All right. Reports, business from mayor and council. John, do you have anything this evening?
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
The Night Light Spring was amazing. It was really just a second. Oh, they made the snow come down all day before that. I wanted to know. It was beautiful.
It was fun. I had fun. I had nothing.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
You're welcome. And I don't have anything either. Although I should introduce our council person-elect, Catherine Price. Thank you for coming. We will be seeing you after the 1st of January.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right. Next. Looks like city managers report.
City manager's report. So, keep making it bigger. All right, council, I just wanted to update you on the resort tax and where we are currently. I did print one of these out. So this report, comparing last year with this year, from July 1st to November 30th. So with November 30th, we're capturing by now we're getting most of the September, like they were due in October, and we get the collections in. We do still have a few stragglers, but we also have folks that pay by the month instead of quarterly. So, but we have 3% more in collections for this time period over last year's. So 890,689.39. I thought it was so uncanny that the cents were exactly the same. And then 865,639 cents from last year. So overall, it's a 3% change. The taxes paid, they're up just under 4% on our bars and restaurants, and 9% on lodging, and down just, I mean, it's a smidge on retail. So they average 3%. So when we look at that resort tax, and when you looked at your tax statement and you see how it's working, you might have read on the online newspapers and articles. So Phillipsburg is going to take to their voters the resort tax, and I think they're not doing it just in Phillipsburg, but part of the county too. So a bigger one. On the very first comment that was attached was somebody, under their name it said they live in Marion, but Rhonda was commenting on the Columbia Falls tax and said, the only thing this has done is raise the price of gas and groceries. And I'm like, no, that's not right. And it went on to say that we haven't fixed any roads, which is true, it's not foreign roads, right? But, and that taxes have gone up every year. And I'm like, no, look at the facts. So that's always kind of frustrating when we have facts and because then they said that we built trails across the hunting grounds, and it had to be the Gateway to Glacier Trail project on the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks.
The trails that have been built about a decade ago.
Right, and they're outside the city, and we didn't do them. But anyway, I'm like, well, where does that come from? So the only thing we can keep doing, here's the facts, right? And this is where the money goes, and it's in the budget message. And I played with a little budget snippet, like those fast facts that we were talking about, and we can easily see that since, with the collection starting in October 21, I mean, we reduced mills every year from 222 to 191 to 181 to 90, right? So we'll just keep pushing out those facts, and we talked about that. But bottom line is the money's coming in as expected. That October, November, December collection period will be interesting to see where we are. So that 1.5 million target, I think we're right on target, and could collect a little bit more at this pace. So, are there any questions about resort tax? Okay. So on our project update with the award of the sidewalk will be spring startup. We'll get to start working on all the paperwork that goes with it. So Raise, we're still waiting for that final signature. I was really happy that the federal government didn't shut down, because that means it should still be moving along. EDA, 12th Avenue West, we're awaiting that final engineer approval and easement from BNSF. And then we've put in, the contractor wanted to say, hey, this is too long, right, to come back and do the sidewalk. They would have had a winter shutdown anyway, so I think we'll nudge them a little bit. It's a local company that does good work for us, so there could be a price adjustment, but our engineer, CR, has submitted the final engineering to BNSF. We haven't heard back from them yet, but I'll nudge them a little bit because EDA won't release the $600,000 that they owe us until we have an easement for the sidewalk, because that comes down to their attorneys that we have title to that property. So without the easement, they don't want to pay us anything. So still waiting on that, but CR submitted everything to them well before Thanksgiving. So it usually takes them a little bit, but they did tell us that they would issue an easement this winter before the whole project, the whole thing with the signals in the state was approved. So I just have to remind Mary Ann of that. CR, we've met 3 times on site now with BNSF officials. So,
Last one was a lot better.
it was a lot better. It was very promising. So then wastewater, we reviewed the final, that 90% design. We submitted 27 pages of comments back to HDR and said, no, this isn't right, or why are we doing this, or this isn't in the right spot, or my personal favorite was the concrete conduit that they want us to move. There's 50, it's that conduit vault that we put in with the 09 project, it'll be cost prohibitive to move it. So it's one thing, and engineer, like, just right, move this. Well, what's the cost to move it? You need to shift the building to the south because it was $100,000 or so to put in 09. We're not just moving it, we'd be rebuilding it, and it would be very expensive. So we sent a lot of comments back. We did get the final DNRC signed off on our amendment to extend our deadline and shift our budget a little bit. So they signed off on everything that council saw. So sidewalk, you have awarded the bid, Land Water Conservation Fund, we're working on that grant application for the Fenway Park project. SHPO just sent back their letter, working on the environmental assessment. Also working on the environmental assessment on Northwest Montana Community Land Trust. The appraisal match is above the amount that they paid for the land. That was a council consideration. I'm finishing up the environmental assessment, and then we'll be able to bring that back to council for final approval. And then we'll ask the OC to grant the use of those funds. And then we have the RTP grant application that you folks said yes, go for it on November 20th.
Susan, could you clarify that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that right, that the appraisal came back higher than what they said they were going to buy it for?
No, it came back. In other words, it appraised for more than the dollars that they actually paid for it.
I'm very surprised.
Yeah.
So, I met with Commissioner Abel and Dave Prunty, presented them our DOT meeting information, the fact that they needed to agree with us that we wanted speed studies on Highway 2 and the North Fork Road. And I heard back on, Thursday actually, that they are submitting letters. And so I have the letters ready for the mayor to sign to say we want these studied. And as they noted in September when they came, it could take about a year. But unless we wanted to pay for a whole bunch of engineering, but we don't have that kind of funds available. And Flathead County said, and we're not doing any of the engineering, like we'll wait for them. We do, I guess, with respect to DOT, we do need to, I'll call a Columbia Falls TAC or Transportation Committee, Urban Transportation Committee meeting. My thought was January, because we're coming into the holidays and the meetings that we have lined up. So that includes the county officials, the city officials, and DOT officials. And we will cover some of that information with them as well. because I think we wanted to see about getting urban transportation money for the traffic lighted truck route, or if there's some money available, as well as putting in a request for a project to do the 3 blocks, 2.5 blocks really, of street that we're not doing with the TA grant sidewalk or the bridge grant on 4th Avenue West. So we want to start that process. So I'll get the mayor and Councilman Shepherd are on that committee. So if you guys are in agreement that January is probably a better time to write in than before the holidays. So, and then I just wanted to remind you that under the new statutes that go into effect, such as ADUs became automatic. I mean, yes, subject to site plan review, that they don't have to go through conditional use permit process anymore, either administrative or if they were over the 1,000, where they had to go through planning and council. Based on the new statute that said anywhere there's a single family residence, you may have an ADU. We can't charge plant investment fees, which ours were 60%, and you don't have to worry about parking. They have to still meet side setbacks, lot coverage, and height. So like I said, they'll still pull the building permit. We'll still have to review a site plan, but those are automatically. But state statute supersedes city code, and we don't have to immediately change our code. We have to comply with state statute. Because we'll be updating pretty significantly Title 17 and Title 18 as we work through Senate Bill 382. We don't have to go through the text amendment, the public hearing, the first reading, the second reading, and the recodification when we're about to recodify. We're about to make some changes. So any municipal code that wasn't amended by state statute remains in effect. But we had bills that went into effect immediately, some in October, and then like the ADUs, there's a bunch of them coming on in January. So, but I just wanted to put that out there that we don't have to change our code, we just have to comply with state statute. Pretty much no different from others, but just in case you wanted to do a whole bunch of readings, go through that process. But, so, and then follow up, we had talked once about looking at track 3D as a possible housing project. This track was deeded to the city in 1966 by the Montana Department of Transportation. So this is Railroad Street, you can see that. It is about 1.3 acres, tract 3D. Although there's a couple different numbers. Immediately adjacent to the west is this, you can see it says 0.55 of an acre. This is platted street, but there's some trees. It's not, we don't have a street built here. And of course, we have the one house here on the west in that high shade lot, and it's got a big garden closest to that. So Northwest Community Land Trust had said, what else do you have? And it was actually Councilor Robinson that said, what about this land? Could we put housing on this property? Because it is true, out of all of these lots, we don't own a lot of land, and any deeded city parks have to, in order for a city park to be sold, it goes to the vote of the people. Park. Now, council approves every sale or abandonment of property by a resolution through a very public process. Any lands, like when city council back in 2009, 10, abandoned part of the not built 9th Street, 5th Street roadway, and added it in, so there were 2 more lots for Habitat for 5th Street homes. They were able to build 2 more homes on what would have been a roadway had it been built. But this would give you room, this little half acre of unbuilt roadway. There could be a little pocket park there. So my question is, so Northwest Community Land Trust is still looking they've also been in conversations with Habitat for Humanity. Habitat doesn't want to manage properties, right? Like they created a subdivision here, but they have building. They can build. They have the builders and the tools to build. So Habitat and Northwest Community Land Trust got together and said, hey, maybe we could work on a project together. Habitat could build it. It's the same income qualifications when you're looking at HUD or it's the same income, whether it's Northwest Community Land Trust or Habitat. So then they approached me and said, what about this land? Because it had come up. So my question tonight is, do you, council, want to pursue this? And if so, do you want to appoint a council committee? What do you need?
May I ask a question of clarification? Is it true, was this ever deeded or was this ever called a city park?
It was not
So it's not-
dedicated parkland.
It's not a dedicated parkland that we would have to go.
No, it was owned by DOT, and when they rebuilt in the 60s Railroad Street, they deeded this
Okay.
chunk to
And I just
us.
want to be clear, I know the city's been using it as a park, but it's not officially park.
Right, it's not
That's what I
like,
wanted to clarify.
right, because when we have others, like Horner Park, that was part of the Horner subdivision, and it was deeded, it was a required subdivision requirement.
Okay.
That Horner Park, the Rhine Park is another example. The Rhine was deeded as parkland and some open space, but this was not.
Okay.
Now, obviously, it still goes through a public process of council review, just like when council, when I was sitting there as a council member, and the very first Habitat homes on the old well sites down off of 3rd Ave East, 4th Street East and 3rd Ave East. That land was given by the city to Habitat. But again, that went through this public process. Anything to do with city land goes through a public process with council approving it. But, so that were old well sites that were not platted as anything in particular.
And Susan, we haven't developed that land. We don't have underground water, we don't have.
We have the sprinkler
There is
system.
sprinkler
The
system.
sprinklers.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, because otherwise it was pretty dry and weedy.
right.
And it is kind of, it is true that you could, for 2 more blocks, you could walk to Columbus Park. But it was kind of that neighborhood park. But with respect to your original question, what land do we have?
Mhm.
We do have this land. So I don't know if you want to vet it for potential projects, but I do know that Northwest Community Land Trust and Habitat would be willing to work together.
Would that be, so what's the zoning there, right there?
It is zoned commercial because it's along the railroad street, along that corridor.
Could it have multifamily housing,
Yes.
like similar to further down on Railroad?
And that would be right. And it's not that far from apartments and other multifamily. And that would be the desire with that chunk, that it be a multifamily project.
I think it's, I've been riding by it too, and I'm thinking the same thing, because we have such a lack of property. The only, it's used for 3 months out of the year by the kids, and they use it a lot for baseball. My only problem would be is replacing it, because we've already taken Horner ball field out of the equation. I don't know what that does to little kids that want to play minor league or whatever they call them now. That'd be my only concern. Multifamily sounds great. You can slam a couple fourplexes in there or something and get some good ones. So do we want to appoint a committee to look into this? If so, who would like to be on it? Or do you just want to let the manager deal with Habitat and the land
Well, the
trust?
question is, how fast we want to do this? We've been thinking about this for how long?
We find a property?
Yep. I would say let the manager kick the negotiations open.
and especially if the manager can come back with some hard numbers to say, this is how much we could fit there, these are how many families we could house, have some of that so we can have some real numbers to work with.
The only concern I have is like with the mayor, because, you know, after driving by that piece of property for 45 years, it's a shame how much use we've been getting the last couple of years with the kids. So where are we gonna put the kids?
Maybe 5, 6 nights, 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, 3 months.
Yeah.
So we need to figure out the parks, where we're gonna show the younger kids that are the trainees for our sports program is what goes on there.
Absolutely.
I think it's a pretty young group
It's a
that
very young
uses
group.
that, which in my estimation, you don't need much.
No,
No.
I was thinking that.
That one field.
Yeah, and it was a bad field. It's hard, we could never get it soft enough to play on, it wasn't safe. So I think it's a good use for the land, and I think baseball association and those that are involved could probably restructure a little bit and find some wiggle room within their organization on different fields that aren't used. And football fields aren't used, they're good, you know, that's.
I mean, wonder if we could ball some other, whether it be the high school or the junior high or something, or maybe we could put another little kids, we would have the backstops and everything.
Is that the money, it's the soccer fields,
Yeah, soccer fields aren't being used all the time. You're right.
no, that's nice space.
They probably don't have lacrosse yet like Roseman.
They didn't use it for a couple of years because the T-ball, so they used to use it for rookie, but they weren't using it because they were using the fields at Glacier Gateway, and then of course those got torn out, and then they came back there. Because there were a couple of years on the park use that they didn't use it.
And even that close to Railroad Street and stuff, it was always a concern of mine when we go out there, it's just.
Well, traffic.
Yeah, it just scares me, you know, there's no parking really except for that.
Looks like you have your marching orders.
Okay, Mayor and Council, that's all I had this evening.
City Attorney, do you have anything for us tonight? Yes, nothing this evening, no? All right, Chief?
No, I appreciate all the participation in the parade and all the help you got from the city to make it happen. Most of it's successful.
Mr. Mayor, good question. What's the status of our employment at the 911 center? Are we still way off?
I don't know. I will follow up with you after the 21st of this month.
Okay.
I know that they hired a bunch, but they're similar to everyone else where they, you know, probably 1/3 of the hires stick around and 2/3 leave and then they, you know, but it seems much better right now. As far as response times to our radio traffic and everything else, it seems to be improved. So,
Just one comment on that, Matt, is it sounds like this is not a Flathead County problem. This is everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Trying to get dispatchers, they had to shut one down in Troy down and go back to Libby. It's all over problem, just like everybody else trying to get employees.
it's a thankless job, that's for sure.
It is.
It's a very stressful job.
Yeah.
Okay, seeing we have no further business,
I moved to adjourn.
I'll second that.
there's the second to that. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Go for some basketball.